we have an incredible show today. I want to thank again our sponsors, the American Pistachio Growers, for continuing to help make this show happen and helping bring on incredible guests like today's guest, Robby Naish. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Robby. So Robby is a board surfing, windsurfing legend. He won his first world championship in windsurfing at the age of 13. Now, he's also pioneered over the years basically anything water, board, and wind related, from windsurfing to kite surfing to foiling to stand-up paddleboarding. He's done it all. He's the founder of Naish International, which also creates boards for all these sports and continues to innovate and create products that push all these fields forward. So he's not just a practitioner, but he's an innovator and a creator within the space. He's also a Red Bull athlete, and I also want to encourage everyone to watch his latest documentary, The Longest Wave. It's a great movie that kind of chronicles his life in the sports. So let's bring on Robby. Hey, Robby, thanks so much for joining us today on Friday Fuel Up. So happy to have you on the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, Mike. Nice to meet you, and yeah, great to be on your show. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, very nice to have you on, and nice to meet you. Like I say, the research that went into prepping for you to have you as a guest on the show was amazing. What I uncovered, like everything you've done, and your longevity in all. I mean, would you consider it just board sports, surfing sports, because it really spans so many things?
Yeah, it kind of depends what country you're from. You know what it's called. I call it board sports, board riding. A lot of
Yep.
like in Europe, it's more wind sports, surf sports. So pretty much anything with wind and waves, and yeah,
Yeah,
powered by
that's
nature.
awesome. Okay, so a couple of questions to kind of get us started off. So I know you started windsurfing, pretty early in your life, like around 11 years old or so. And, still now at 59, you're really pioneering windsurfing, board sports, etc. What are some things that you attribute to your longevity, both from a physical and mental perspective, in this board surfing world? Having, run the gamut of so many things, seen so many new sports come into it. You haven't at one point said, okay, I'm done with this. I want to go, do woodworking. What is the
Right.
thing that
Yeah.
has kind of kept you going?
For an awful long time, a lot of luck, I would say. A lot of luck involved, a lot of being in the right place at the right time, uh, many times over, from the very beginning of my career, just happening to stumble across windsurfing at the right time, at the very birth of the sport for the most part. The fact that my parents moved to Kailua, Hawaii, the greatest little town ever if you wanted to grow up to be a surfer or a windsurfer. My father was a surfer in California, and packed up the family and moved to Hawaii to take a teaching job. And so that, was luck as well. He had the same schedule as us at being a school teacher, a high school teacher. So we had
Hmm.
summers off, we had weekends off, and we were raised, right by this beautiful white sand Kailua Beach as a kid. And so that was my playground. And so a lot of luck there. And then just through the years, followed that path of trying to set myself up, hoping, it might turn into something, but with no real path into the future. First with windsurfing, and then, of course, with kite surfing when we invented that and started playing with that sport, into SUP, now into foiling and winging, and a lot of being in the right place at the right time, an appreciation for how lucky I am to do what I do and get paid for it.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of athletes lose sight of that, how lucky they are to get paid,
Yep.
and forget, that real life is pretty hard compared to getting paid to play basketball or football or surf or whatever it is that your passion is. Uh, and then being lucky enough that I really love what I do. I love the sports. I'd be doing it anyway, whether I got paid for it or not. And that helps.
Hmm.
And having a playing field that's so organic and constantly changing. Windsurfing is nothing like today what it was in 1976. The sport has evolved and changed, and the equipment has advanced, and
Yep.
bringing all those other surfing elements into it that have kept it interesting and exciting and challenging and constantly learning new things has kept it, very, very interesting and kept me young at heart. You know, you fall down, you learn again, you try again. Whereas, I mean, I guess golf is always changing. Every golf course you go to is different. But a lot of sports, eventually, you just, I think, probably get honestly bored with it, right? You hit the same
Hmm.
tennis ball over the same size net in the same size court a certain number of times, and I imagine you'll eventually kind of burn out and want to do something else. So I've been really lucky. Again, a lot of luck being in the right place at the right time, but a real appreciation and love for what I do as well.
I had some surfer buddies that knew that I was going to be interviewing you, and I had a couple questions. One of them, I thought this was a great question as a nutrition person. This was I thought a great question as well. Related to energy, so how do you sustain for long periods of windsurfing or kite surfing? It's not like traditional surfing where you can get out past the wave, take a break. Like when you're windsurfing, you're constantly windsurfing. So how do you maintain your energy for such long periods of time there?
Uh, I don't know. I think one, I'm kind of a weird person, and my metabolism is different than most people's. Like I hardly drink any water. The way the world has changed, you know, you see people with their hydro flasks on their belt, and it's like water's become this constant thing. They've you got to drink water, and people are drinking. I don't know how many gallons of water a day you're supposed to drink. I drink a gallon of water like every week and a half, probably. I'm a camel. Um, and I'm back. I'm old school. If I want to drink a water, I find a drinking fountain and
Yeah.
I drink out of a drinking fountain. I don't understand this whole change to where you're buying water. Water comes in a plastic bottle, and you're paying $3 for it in an airport. I'm like, there's a drinking fountain 20 feet over there. It's so even competing. Like we'd be in a place, for example, like Gran Canaria. It's basically a desert. It's a rock beach, no sand, dry heat, right off the coast of Africa, windy as hell, and you're there from 8 in the morning until 7 at night on the beach in the sun between heats and training. And man, I'd still drink hardly any water. I don't get thirsty, and I think your body tells you if you're thirsty you drink. If you're not thirsty you don't have to drink. So one, I'm really weird in that sense that
Yeah.
I'm not drinking water all the time. uh, I would often, I'd eat breakfast, and that's pretty much it. And the more I ride, if I have a huge day on the water, uh, if I found like if I had lunch, I'd lose energy, and I don't know if it's the digestion process or what. But the less I consumed during the day, by the end of the day, the more energy I had and the more on it I was, and just total focus. Like I'll drink Red Bull through the day, and I'll have some little snacks. Like that's where pistachios come in. Most snacks these days are just carbs and chemicals, like Doritos. Man, they taste good, but they're designed to
Yes. Oh
just
yeah.
they just turn your brain inside out and say, "Yeah, eat more of those." They're delicious, but that's not the kind of stuff you want to be snacking on. And most snacks these days are just calories and fat, and so I'll eat little bits, uh, but that's it. I don't go in and have a big meal and then go ride again.
Yeah.
I'll have reasonable breakfast. I won't eat much during the day. I seldom have lunch, especially a big lunch. I like to snack. I like to keep just little bits in there, but not overpower it, and then have a
Hmm.
big dinner. I'm a big like pasta at the end of the day kind of guy. So um, and then when I was younger, I'd eat whatever I want. Um, I ate like a 12-year-old kid for most of my life, and then it worked for me. As long as you're burning it off, I think what we eat is important, but how much we eat is more important. I think Americans especially just eat too much. Like
Yeah.
you go to a drive-through, and when I was 15 years old, and if you went to McDonald's and you got a hamburger, fries, and a Coke, the Coke was this big, the fries came in a little tiny bag, and the burger was that big. And now you go get the same thing, and the fries come in a jumbo satchel that you can use as a cooler to the beach in the future, and the soda is I don't know how big, 36 ounces, and the burger's just overflowing with stuff. And it's the amount that we're eating, not what we're eating. As long as you exercise and you eat if I get fries, I eat like 10% of the fries and I give the rest to the birds. There's no way I'm going to eat all that. So um, I've never consciously been one of these people that has a dietitian. I'm not drinking protein shakes all the time, and like some of my competitors were, but
Hmm.
it's worked for me. I'm conscious of what I'm eating and how much I'm eating, but it hasn't become a science project where, I'm consumed with what I'm eating and how much and measuring. And yeah, again, maybe it's because of the sports that I'm in and they're very organic, and I'm not having to run 27 miles a day, and I'm not, it's a different kind of sports than many where you're really at the, absolutely taxing your body like a lot of other sports where I think, diet and nutrition are probably a bigger part of the equation than they were for me. So again, I was kind of lucky in that respect.
Yeah. Well, I think it also sounds, you said that you're very conscious of what you take in. And I agree with you. I think that's a huge piece. And also to your point about how you don't eat a lot during the day, like you don't feel good if you have a big lunch and then you're out riding. And I think that, fueling during exercise is really individualized because some people are like yourself. Like if they have something, it just weighs them down. They feel sluggish. They feel, they're not at their best. And I think the key is you should fuel yourself to perform at your best. And while other people, will eat like, in a sporting event, they'll need to eat a lot of food at halftime or something,
Yeah.
to keep them going. And so I think it is finding what you need. And like you said, it's kind of snacks throughout the day, having some, a little bit of pistachios or whatever it is, kind of sustains you. And then you have this bigger meal if we were to get the science of it. That's really like your recovery meal, right? Where you're kind of
Right.
replenishing from the day, ready to go after that. So actually, I don't think it's it's not as kind of off the wall as you maybe think. I think it's right on.
I
And then
think it's
also,
self awareness. Just a lot of
yes,
people don't have great self awareness, and someone else tells them what to do, and so they do that. But it may not be what their physiology would really be best suited for. Everybody's different, and one person can eat this many calories, and that person can eat the same number of calories, and it's going to affect them completely differently, and their energy peaks are going to handle it totally differently. And so I think self awareness, trying and seeing what feels right, and not necessarily only listening to one person or reading one thing, but how does it feel when you do that? How do you,
yeah.
feel internally? How's your energy peak? If you eat something, what happens a half an hour later? You come down, or you just firing all day? And again, it's just being in touch with your body. Like with me, if I drank as much water as most people do, I'd be asleep in the corner. I
Yeah,
couldn't
you'd
even
probably feel
function.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, totally. I think one of the first questions whenever I help people with their nutrition, people always will say, "Well, tell me what to eat." And my first question is, "Well, like what do you normally do?" Because I'm exactly what you said. I think that people know themselves better than I could ever know them. So understanding like what are your current habits, how do different things make you feel, it's essentially just an optimization game after that. Instead, where most people just want to start from a total blank slate, just tell me whatever it is, and then I'll do that. I think that's a mistake. I think the other thing is, the question was about how do you sustain energy for so long. I think that we also greatly underappreciate how the body adapts over time. You didn't just start doing this. You've been riding waves for 50 years,
Yeah.
and so your body and your musculature down to the DNA has adapted to thrive in this environment. And even if someone has started, kite surfing, but they do it once a weekend, 6 months out of the year, and then
Could
they
be
look
very
and they're like,
different.
man, how does Robby do this, right? Because to your point, like when you were 9 years old, like your playground was the surf, and you've been kind of doing it, and so we underappreciate that. I think a lot, the history that our bodies have with performance.
Yeah, that's true. And it put me in a different environment. Like if you told me to go run 6 miles right now, which, a lot of not exactly athletic type people could go run 6 miles easy right now.
Yeah.
Uh, I'd probably die at about 5.5 miles. Like literally, I just keel over. Both knees would be broken off my legs, pointing in different directions. Not that my heart couldn't take it, but my muscular skeleton till, my joints, my cartilage is just made around these static pulling, and I
Mm-hmm.
do a repetitive thing like that, I'd literally fall apart.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody's different, and you are, like you said, built around the history that's made you where you are. So
Mm-hmm.
I think having that self awareness, yeah, not just diving headfirst into something because your friend can do it, but easing in and seeing how your body feels and what you need to eat or drink to compensate for it. A lot of people sweat a lot. I don't sweat at all, so there's different amounts of consumption required for the same amount of exercise, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
No, definitely, definitely. All right, so I want to get into, for being respectful of your time, the pistachio shelling challenge. So I know
All
you
right,
have some pistachios there with you.
I
The
do.
so the rules are very simple. We'll set a timer for 30 seconds. Shell as many pistachios as you can in 30 seconds, and if you win, and by winning, shell more than me, which I gotta tell you, I'm on quite the losing streak despite top performance. You win a year's supply of pistachios from the American
Okay,
Pistachio
hold on
Growers.
then, 'cause I could definitely use that. Costco would be bummed, but I would. I'd, I'd love to get them somewhere else. So you
Did
tell me
you say
when, and I'm gonna.
Costco would be bummed?
Yeah, that's where I get my pistachios. So
All right, all right. I will.
you tell me when, I'm gonna kick your butt. Hopefully.
Oh, I love it. Ready, set,
Yeah.
go.
Well, I'm off to a bad start. That's for sure.
Oh well, good. Keep being terrible, Robbie. Do me a favor. 14 seconds. 4 seconds. 2 seconds. Time's up.
Oh, this
All
last
right.
one wouldn't open. Damn.
All right, let's count them. Count
All
them
right.
up.
I think this was a pretty poor performance.
Oh
You
man, you know what?
likely got me on this one.
Not that I wish bad upon people, but
Sometimes the cracks just aren't as wide
yes,
as you
that's
would
very
hope.
true. All right, 1, 2. Okay, what do you got?
I've only got 14. I was a spaz.
19. So
Yeah, I mean, this was just, it's too early in the
I know it's
morning.
true. It's
Uh,
yeah. The
that's
time
what it
zone
was.
thing.
Hand-eye coordination wasn't quite there yet. I could give a lot of excuses. I should have done 30, not, yeah. Anyway,
30 would have been insane. That would have been awesome.
it's good for you to kick somebody's butt now and again, though, too. Though, you don't want
Yes,
complete amateurs coming onto the show when you're a tried and true pistachio shelling professional and have guys like me beat you. So it's good that you smack me down.
I appreciate that a lot. It's to the point where my kids are giving me a lot of flack around the house. So
Well, good. I'm glad I can give you some dad props.
yes, no, it's the most
That's
important.
important.
So, Robbie, really, thank you so much for coming on the show. Our conversation was literally better than I could have ever hoped. I really appreciate your insights. I
Thank
think
you.
what you do is amazing, and kind of how you've also talked about your love and passion and how that's really driven you to create your own luck throughout your career has been awesome. So, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was really a pleasure. Pleasure getting together. Hopefully, I'll meet you in person at some point. If you guys bring the family out to Maui, you've got my numbers. Give me a call. We'll get you out to the beach and put them on some surfboards or stand-up paddleboards or something,
I would
and get
love
them into
that.
the waves.
I would love that. That would be
Probably
awesome.
almost as good as the New York or the Jersey Shore or wherever you're taking them in the summer. So
Yeah, let me tell you, where we go in Maine, there are not that many waves. They would blow their mind, for sure. So to everybody tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in and join us next month. Remember, first Friday of every month, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. We will see you there.